In the shadows of a shattered family, a violent father, a son desperate to escape, and an innocent woman were doomed to collide. These fragments compose the haunting portrait of the Buchanan family. Triple homicide, one of the most heart-rending cases ever uncovered. What deepens the sorrow is the complex web of relationships and secrets entwined within. At the center stood Adam Buchanan, 38 years old, his 16-year-old son Nolan Buchanan, Adam's 37-year-old fiancée Molly McCaffrey, and their 8-year-old son Gavin, Nolan's half-brother. The remains of most family members were discovered beneath the smoldering ruins of a dilapidated forest cabin, a place the Buchanans had envisioned restoring to beauty. That very cabin symbolized their dreams, a stark contrast to the nightmare it became. That it turned into their final resting place after such brutal violence adds a cruel layer of irony to this tragic tale. Tonight, we unravel the last weekend of the Buchanan family, tracing the chain of events that culminated in their horrific deaths. Born in 1999, Nolan Buchanan entered the world in Benicia, California, the son of Adam Buchanan. His birth mother's identity remains undisclosed, and reports suggest she was largely absent from his life. Perhaps youth was to blame. Adam was only 21 when Nolan was born. Despite this, Adam raised Nolan alone for several years. Described as a stern man, Adam demanded rigid adherence to his harsh standards of masculinity from his son. This relentless pressure weighed heavily on Nolan's fragile mental state. In 2005, Adam launched Buchanan & Sons, a construction business he hoped to one day entrust to Nolan. The business flourished, and Adam amassed a respectable nest egg. Within a year, the workload became overwhelming, forcing Adam to seek an office manager. Among the applicants was 27-year-old Molly McCaffrey. Their first meeting sparked undeniable chemistry, though professionalism prevailed for the time being. Molly earned the position and ran the office with precise efficiency. Soon Adam's charm began to work its subtle magic on Molly. His charisma was potent, and before long Molly found herself swept away. What appeared as a wholesome romance quickly blossomed. Molly became the nurturing figure Nolan had never known. When Adam and Molly began dating in 2006, Nolan was just 7 years old. It seemed Nolan barely remembered his birth mother. Molly stepped in as his mother. For a time, the three formed a seemingly perfect family, bound by moments of joy largely fueled by Molly's warmth. She was known for her positivity and determination to build a loving home. Adam and Molly wasted little time expanding their family. In 2007, Gavin was born, Nolan's long-awaited little brother. Gavin quickly became beloved in the Benicia community, especially for his affection for dogs. At just 5 years old, Gavin donated all his allowance and chore money to the local canine task force. Despite expectations, Nolan showed no jealousy toward Gavin. He appeared as a devoted older brother, often caring for Gavin with tenderness. But beneath this facade, a darker turmoil brewed within Nolan's mind. Though he loved his brother deep inside, Nolan wrestled with jealousy and fear. The weight of his father's demands crushed him. Adam expected Nolan to complete all chores perfectly, and failure meant harsh insults. Whenever displeased, Adam belittled Nolan, claiming he was not a man. This relentless verbal abuse deepened Nolan's resentment over time. Some accounts suggest Adam was gentler with Gavin, perhaps due to his youth. But Nolan endured years of mistreatment. Witnessing his father's cruelty toward him, followed by tenderness to Gavin, twisted Nolan's heart with hatred. This hatred would fester, eventually exploding in deadly violence. Nolan's cruel education and violence was no accident. For now, the Buchanans faced each day as it came. Despite the steady income from the business, underlying tensions simmered beneath their comfortable surface. The family's financial stability was far more fragile than it appeared. By 2014, 8 years of cycles of fighting and reconciliation had worn heavily on them. Adam was nearly always the one to ignite conflict. Yet Molly was no quitter. Her commitment to their vows ran deep. She refused to abandon Nolan to endure his father's abuse alone. Her determination to hold the family together would ultimately collide with the darkness at its core. Molly remained with Adam, trapped by financial dependence and a desperate desire to protect Nolan from his father's influence. Leaving seemed impossible. She often sought refuge at her mother's house, bringing the children along, but always found herself returning to the family home. Molly's financial ties to Adam ran deep as she worked within the family business, further anchoring her in place. Just the year before, Nolan had joined the company, with Adam grooming him to take over someday. In essence, Molly and the children had nowhere else to turn, a situation likely engineered by Adam himself. As previously noted, the business was struggling badly. Burdened by tens of thousands in debt and recent layoffs, it barely operated with a skeleton crew. Yet Adam indulged in luxury, a man addicted to the allure of fine possessions. The Buchanan family flaunted 2 vintage cars and even a pontoon boat for occasional outings on the water. But how was this extravagance funded? By plunging deeper into debt. In 2014, Adam escalated his reckless spending to unprecedented heights. He purchased 19 acres in Greenwood, complete with a dilapidated cabin more shack than home. Without electricity or running water, it was the perfect escape for Adam away from the chaos of city life. The cabin became a family project, a place where they could retreat and work on remodeling amidst the woods. Yet these forest getaways could not mask the unraveling reality. The Buchanan family was crumbling. To the casual eye, they seemed stable, even thriving. By 2015, after owning the Greenwood cabin for over a year, neighbors likely admired their outward display of wealth. But behind closed doors, Adam and Molly's relationship was at its breaking point. Their constant furious fights had escalated to the point where police intervention was necessary on multiple occasions. They no longer shared a bed. Molly had moved to a separate room, a move possibly forced by Adam's violent outbursts. Adam's previous success in gaining custody of Nolan after his first divorce underscored his relentless will to dominate. Every possible escape route for Molly had been systematically closed off by Adam's manipulation. Though she sought solace at her mother's home whenever possible, Adam's grip remained unyielding. He was her employer, the ultimate authority on where their children could go, and the owner of the house she lived in. On September 11, 2015, Adam proposed a weekend trip to the Greenwood cabin. Molly may have seen this as a rare chance for peace, with Adam occupied by renovations, freeing her to connect with the children. The cabin's location was ideal for hunting, a pastime that had once bonded Molly and Adam. Perhaps she hoped the weekend would offer a brief respite from their fractured relationship. So the Buchanan family set out, oblivious to the tragic fate awaiting them. At approximately 10 a.m. on September 13th, 2 days after their arrival, the local fire department received an urgent call about a forest fire. Firefighters raced to the scene and managed to extinguish the blaze, revealing a pile of smoldering rubble, the remains of the cabin. The debris was still hot, with some parts too fiery to move evidence of the fire's intensity. Once cooled, investigators sifted through the ashes and discovered charred bones concealed beneath, initially believed to be animal remains or those of a family pet. Further examination revealed human bones. Fragments of a chest bone and a skull showed a bullet hole, confirming the grim truth. There was no question these were human remains. Police quickly connected the cabin to Adam Buchanan, a construction company owner from Venice. Officers went to the Buchanan residence and were met by Nolan. It emerged that Nolan had not accompanied his family to the cabin. Instead, he stayed behind to spend the weekend with his girlfriend. Nolan claimed he expected his parents to return that very evening. As police left, their attention turned to a white Ford F-150 parked in the driveway, sparking questions about how the family reached the cabin without it. Several theories began to form in the investigators' minds. Molly's journal revealing Adam's abuse led police to suspect he might have used his .22 caliber rifle to murder her, with the fire set to cover his crime. However, the medical examiner's report revealed the victims showed no signs of smoke inhalation, meaning they were dead before the fire started. No firearm was discovered at the scene. A thorough search of the area eventually uncovered the murder weapon, the .22 caliber rifle. Investigators discovered the weapon beside Molly's purse, a grim clue pointing to the perpetrator's use of Adam's own gun to murder the family before attempting to discard the evidence nearby. The police initially probed into a disgruntled employee, given Adam's reputation as a demanding boss who often berated his staff with harsh language. Yet this lead quickly dissolved into another dead end. While the investigation stalled, Nolan carried himself with an unsettling air of triumph, as if untouched by the chaos surrounding him. In a revealing moment, Nolan told his grandfather he had never felt happier, attributing his mood to the enjoyment he found with his girlfriend. At Buchanan Construction, he arrived flaunting a brand new sports coat, his demeanor carefree and detached from any suspicion. His focus seemed fixated on the company's finances, expressing eagerness to access the bank accounts without delay. Throughout that week, Nolan's odd behavior persisted, raising eyebrows. During a family lunch, he made chilling remarks about inheriting the business and liquidating it for cash. He also splurged on new jewelry and clothing items he reportedly wore when meeting with Molly's mother. It wasn't long before the police zeroed in on Nolan as a prime suspect. Forensic experts found Nolan's fingerprints all over the rifle, yet this alone could not seal the case. He might have handled the weapon at home or at any earlier time. The presence of his prints did not definitively prove he had committed the murders. Still, it gave investigators a critical foothold as they tightened the noose. Aware that suspicion would inevitably fall on him, Nolan set out to misdirect the police. He quickly named a neighbor rumored to cultivate illegal substances, claiming his father often clashed with this individual. Despite these attempts to divert attention, the police pieced the puzzle together, linking surveillance footage with Adam's credit card transactions. At 9:17 p.m. on September 11th, Adam swiped his card at Taco Bell, likely while en route to the cabin with his family. The purchase included 4 drinks matching the 4 cups later found amid the cabin's remains. This strongly suggested Nolan was present the entire time, most likely as the 4th person. Hours later, at approximately 2:30 a.m., Adam withdrew $40 at a bar near the cabin. Surveillance captured Adam and Molly socializing there and later leaving together in the family's Ford truck. This footage confirmed the family used the truck to reach the cabin, but left investigators wondering how the vehicle ended up back at the house. The mystery unraveled through surveillance from the following day. At 3:30 a.m., the truck was recorded driving toward the cabin. An hour later, cameras caught it heading toward the interstate. Police concluded Nolan was behind the wheel. Between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m., he allegedly used his father's gun to kill his family. He also appeared to have Adam's credit card, as transaction records showed purchases at fast food chains including McDonald's and Starbucks. Following the murders, he took a calculated detour for fast food, brazenly spending from his deceased father's accounts. In the days after Nolan seemed poised to move forward with his plans, he aimed to liquidate company assets and indulge in extravagant spending, seemingly mirroring his father's own questionable habits. Unbeknownst to him, this inheritance carried a heavy burden of debt and irony lost in his rush for wealth. To dismantle Nolan's alibi, police reached out to his girlfriend. She revealed Nolan had planned to meet her on Friday but canceled at the last moment. 2 days later, he called, claiming he had been alone at home all weekend. This story was repeated to multiple people, indicating a possible attempt to construct a false alibi. With the pieces in place, the police prepared to act. On October 1st, officers arrested Nolan at Benicia High School, charging him with 3 counts of murder. Yet forensic evidence showed Adam was already dead when the cabin was set on fire, and Nolan's calm departure and fast food spree defied the narrative of trauma. Nolan fought to deflect blame at every turn. He claimed Molly struggled with substance abuse, blaming their marital tensions on her. Taking the stand, he shifted the blame squarely onto his father. In his fabricated account, Nolan was near the cabin when gunshots rang out, allegedly from Adam, shooting Gavin in the head. He said he returned to the cabin where a struggle led to him accidentally shooting his father. By that time, Molly was reportedly dead, prompting Nolan to set their bodies ablaze. Why he chose arson over calling the police remains a mystery, especially since this testimony was later proven false. The prosecution meticulously reconstructed the case, leaving no room for doubt. They demonstrated Nolan's violent outburst, shooting his younger brother in cold blood before waiting for his parents to return. Upon their arrival, he murdered them both, then drenched the house in gasoline and set it aflame. Surveillance footage captured Nolan driving away, his subsequent spending spree sealing his guilt. On June 13th, the jury found Nolan guilty on all counts. In a decisive ruling, Judge Suzanne Kingsbury sentenced Nolan to 150 years behind bars, granting credit for the nearly 3 years he had already endured in county jail. However, due to congressional limits on sentencing minors, Nolan will become eligible for parole only after 25 years. It appears the judge sought to offer the possibility of rehabilitation, a chance for Nolan to re-enter society. Yet, given the cold and calculated nature of his crimes, there may be nowhere left for him to turn, even if parole arrives in 2039. No member of his family is willing to take him in. For Nolan, the prison walls may very well be his final refuge. The judge's concluding words echoed with somber hope. Everyone holds the capacity for change. She urged Nolan to do everything in his power to prove it. Now we turn to you. Did Nolan's youth sway the sentencing in his favor? Or did justice prevail with the punishment he received? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. If our storytelling resonates with you and you want more deep dives into cases like this, please like and subscribe to support our work. Thank you for watching once again.